another tricky stage to control in the Critérium du Dauphiné. Did Jumbo-Visma get it wrong? Van Aert 4 seconds ahead of Hayter, 6 seconds ahead of Quinn going into the stage. Again, it is a flat finish, which there would be a sprint of some description, but there were some climbs before that, like 14Ks at 5%, some decent climbs, although further from the finish today than yesterday. A break went up the road, like not the strongest break, and not many World Tour teams represented, although Lotto DSM were there, and you once again saw Germay pacing for Bike Exchange. Now this makes sense on the climb. It's a bluff. He goes to the front, he tries to pace at a very controlled pace that is no problem for Groenewegen, and we see a nice fat peloton, not strung out at all, and we're wondering, will Jumbo-Visma take it up for Van Aert? He won yesterday pretty comfortably, and it's actually education first. I think with Shaw pacing for a lot of this stage, the gap was like 4:20, 4:15 when they started pacing. The Plus helps him, and those guys put in work for like 15Ks, maybe longer. De Plus obviously riding for Hayter in this finish in the white Young Riders jersey. And we're looking through, Groenewegen's gone. Already dropped on that climb. They don't really try as hard to come back today. He looks over at Grandal Janssen and says, "Dit is moeilijke dan de Zeelentour." And Grandal Janssen says, "I'm Norwegian, I don't speak Dutch," and goes for the rarely seen sticky bottle with another rider. So yeah, that was his stage done, and maybe his Dauphiné done. Groenewegen, EF pacing, gaps down to 3 minutes. They've already put 120 into it, 250 with the Plus pacing. So it was those two. It wasn't Jumbo bringing the gap down, although they'd offered Chris Harper to control the gap for a lot of the stage in conjunction with Bike Exchange. Now down to 2 minutes as they reach this plateau. And it keeps going down further to 150, but still, Jumbo aren't pacing. They don't really need to, because the other, like yesterday, why pace when the other teams are pacing? Trek comes to the front with Bernard, 140, and they still have Harper there. So 32 Ks to go, 132. It's all looking fine. The gap's fine. Amador is probably the best descender apart from Kwiatkowski on the Ineos squad. Goes to the front for the descent, just a casual 85 Ks an hour, 83 Ks an hour for the bunch, who go much quicker, obviously, than 5 men on a fast flowing descent like that. Although that group is working well together, and De Plus is starting to run out of steam a little bit. It becomes a rotation of him, I think Shaw, Schoens, and still Chris Harper. And here's the last little kicker of the day. Crest about 10 Ks from the finish, 1K 5%, and again, 45 seconds, looking pretty good, because Trek absolutely light this up once again, even though Sturven in the interview before the race is like, "We're not doing it again." Well, they did. Go for it again. Who knows why, but they did. Sturven likes to marshal his units, and it was Tolhoek again, pacing hard. Jumbo probably couldn't believe their luck. It's 30 seconds at the crest, all looking in hand. King Kenny, again, looking in very good shape. Rips the pull, maybe too hard, because you see Skern's got in the way of Benoit, lost Kruijswijk's wheel, and this just messes up the finish of this climb. Kruijswijk's looking back. Kruijswijk's already, he's kind of done too. Like he's a GC rider. The guy's a GC rider. And, we've got a crest coming up, and Benoit's sort of motioning. I don't know what that means, whether to go with him. It almost looks like Pyrenees Stage 1. I'm like, Jumbo could launch a team attack here. It was so strung out, and everyone was surprised. And the descent's coming up here, and Kruijswijk's probably thinking, I can't pace the descent all this time. Or he's looking back, looking to Benoit to take over, or Laporte, and then he flicks him. It's hard to tell who flicks, because he's sort of, wide elbows guy at all times, and they just push him forward. And here, it goes from 28 to 30 with 7 Ks to go. Then 500 meters later, they lose another 2 seconds. Another K later, it's at 35. And Jumbo aren't pacing. They've got Schoens, who's cooked on the front, and I think Amador again with Trek pacing. So here's where the break won the race. Jumbo needed to put Benoit or Laporte to pace on that descent and control things, and giving back that 10 seconds to the breakaway was what really killed it. And even with 4 Ks to go, he's asking Ineos to send someone forward, I think. He's motioning, and it's like, yeah, but Wout slapped them yesterday in the sprint, and you guys got the most numbers, and Wout's in the yellow jersey, so, and they helped bring that gap down. I know Harper paced, so you see Ineos are not going to be fooled twice. They did not send Dunbar forward. You see him behind Gegenhardt. They didn't send Kwiatkowski forward. You see him behind, I think, Roglic. So it is all on Jumbo-Visma here, and they send Kruijswijk forward again when I think after Laporte was pacing. And again, Kruijswijk doesn't put any time into this breakaway at all. And I didn't, before this, I thought Jumbo just didn't care about the stage. I thought they were just like, you guys pace if you want it. But it seemed like Wout van Aert said afterwards they did care. And they must have, because It's under 3Ks to go, and they send Roglic forward, or he sends himself forward to start pacing. And Benoit, when he did start pacing after Kruiswijk, like he put 10 seconds into the gap pretty quickly. Roglic put another 5 seconds in, nearly collects, I think, or Laporte nearly collects him with 1,500 meters to go. It's 20 seconds. We know the breakaway is going to finesse a little bit in the finish and probably give back 10 seconds, but it was too late. Ganna's pull afterwards and then Laporte's lead out wasn't enough. Delaplace attacks early Viermo in his wheel with Vermaken for DSM, Legac for FDJ. The group had worked perfectly together all day. Scarces for Uno X third wheel in the yellow jersey, and Legac kicked and got a nice gap, and probably the right move from him, given that, maybe they wouldn't be able to get back to his wheel and get the draft, and Viermo was just too strong. The Total Energy rider comes out of his wheel. Scarces cannot come over the top of him and wins his second World Tour race after winning on Muta Britannia in 2015. Wout van Aert cleans up the sprint behind him, and this reminded me so much of that Bergado, well, this was a sprint, but solo, that Bergado win for Total in Paris-Nice. They do it again here in the Critérium du Dauphiné. They must be very happy with how their French World Tour stage races are going. And congrats to the break. They worked really well together. It was like that Affini court break in the Giro that was won by De Bont. Like, the break worked really well together. Viermo goes into the yellow jersey. You got to be in it to win it, and they didn't finesse too much and got the job done. Wout van Aert 5 seconds now behind him. Another tricky stage tomorrow. It's like a 5K 7% finish, but then the last K after that is flat. I really don't know how it's going to play out. Will the break have another chance? Bahrain lighted up for Dylan Teuns, who's here. I'm not sure. Hayter, can he get over it? Van Aert, probably. Roglic, of course he can. It'll be interesting to see. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you with the recap of that tomorrow. Ciao.